Hello and welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul. If you're new here, a very warm welcome, and if you're returning visitors, nice to see you here again. Now, today's recipe is for what we call in certain parts of the UK a barm cake. Some people call it a bap, some people call it a scuffler, some people call it just a soft roll. It's called all kinds of things, but barm cakes were originally made using a yeast called barm, and it was actually the froth from the top of the brewing vats when they were brewing beer, which of course you can't get today. So my recipe is what we've made in the bakery in the UK and here in Spain for many years, and it's using ordinary fast active dried yeast. But it's a barm cake in some parts of the country and other names in other parts of the country. Now, people often ask me about soft rolls. How do I keep them fresh? How long do they keep? Well, first of all, soft rolls made at home are never ever as soft and fluffy as the ones you buy in the shops. For the simple reason they add various things there. They add flour improvers, they add soya flour, they add things like vitamin C and vinegar, all sorts of things to keep them fluffy and give them a longer shelf life. I keep mine like this at home. I put them in a Ziploc bag like this. I usually put them in twos, and I put them in the freezer, and when I want them I just take them out, let them thaw out and use them like that. That's the easiest way to keep them nice and soft. Okay, so I will be doing a shout out for my new PayPal and Patreon subscribers later in the video. So we'll get on with the video, and I'll first of all show you the ingredients, which are very simple. So here are the ingredients for the barm cakes. Very few ingredients. It's some bread flour, some milk, some water, lard, salt and yeast. That's it. So I'll show you how to put it all together. So here what I've done is I've mixed the cold water with the boiling water. Mix the two together, and that gives us what we call blood heat. It's just a nice temperature for dissolving the yeast and what we call blooming the yeast. So I've got cold milk, boiling water, and now I've added the 7 grams of yeast. It normally comes in a 7-gram packet like this, the instant yeast. And I'm going to put that to one side and leave it now for about 10 minutes, and I'll carry on with the rest. In the mixing bowl I've got the flour, and I'm going to add the salt. Once I've done that, I'm just going to give that a little mix round to distribute the salt with the flour. That's all it needs, just a little mix like that. And then I'm going to add the lard. And then we're going to put the dough hook in. Now you can mix this with a hand mixer if you've got the little twirly dough hooks with it, or you can do it by hand. I've explained in all my videos, because of my arthritis, I can't mix it by hand at the moment. Some days I can, some days I can't. So I'm going to mix that, I'm going to mix that with the dough hook. Just a little. Few seconds, that's all. And now we're going to add the yeast mixture. That's the yeast, the water and the milk all in there. That's been standing for about 10 minutes, and you will see it start to froth on top. That means your yeast is alive and not dead. So that's going to be mixed now for exactly 5 minutes. So the 5 minutes is up now. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to just grease my bowl with a little spray. You can use a bit of oil. Sometimes people use those light sprays. You can buy cooking oil in sprays like that. And I'm going to put the dough back into the bowl. Like that. Turn it over so there's a little oil on top of it. And then I'm going to cover that with a clean tea towel and leave that for 1 hour to 1 hour and a half. It depends on the temperature of your kitchen. But it'll take, in my kitchen this morning, it's quite early this morning, it's about 7 o'clock at the moment, and it's quite cool, so it will take about 1 hour and a half. So I'll cover that over and we'll be back and show you what happens next. So here we've got the dough, which has actually doubled in size now. It took about 1 hour and a half in my kitchen this morning because it was very, very cold at 7 o'clock. And so we're going to tip it out and we're going to knock out the air. We're going to knock out the air. We have the first rising. Now there's no need really to flour this. If you've got a nice work surface like this colour, it's not too sticky, it's nice and stretchy, but it shouldn't need flouring. If you do need to flour it, do it very, very lightly, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to upset the flour content in the recipe. Okay, so we're going to knead it gently like this now, just to knock out the air. So the first thing we're going to do is to actually weigh the dough first. So that's about 830 grams. So we need to divide that into 10 pieces. So that's 83 grams per piece. So we'll just a little bit too big there. There we are. Okay, there we are. Now we need to just fold these into the middle like that to make a nice little ball, and then finish it off with the palm of my hand, like that. So I'm going to just leave them like this now for just 10 minutes. That will make them a lot easier to handle. But while I'm going to leave them there, I'm going to cover them over with a nice clean tea towel. Be careful you don't use a tea towel that you've washed in nice perfumed washing powder. Otherwise it will transfer the perfume to the bread rolls. So we'll cover that over and we'll just leave it 10 minutes, and then I'll come back and get them onto the bread tray, onto the baking tray. So these have been sitting now for 10 minutes, which is going to make them much easier to handle like this. I just need my small rolling pin, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip them both sides in a little flour and just roll them to about 3.5 inches, that's all, and put them onto the baking tray. Now if you don't want soft topped rolls, don't dip them in the flour, okay? Just leave them as they are, and then they'll go crispy on top. But these are traditional Baps, or in some parts of the country, Barm Cakes, and I've explained why they were called Barm Cakes before to you. About 3.5 inches like that, and pop them on the then we're going to leave them there I'll do the other tray in a moment. We're going to cover those up now and leave them for another 30 minutes. And I'll be back to see how they are. So they'll be sitting here now for another 30 minutes. So we're now going to have a look at those. We're now going to pop them in the oven, and the oven is set at 180 centigrade, no fan, and they're going in there 170 or 180. It doesn't really matter much, but they're going to go in there for between 17 and 18 minutes. I'll see you shortly. So here, as promised, are the latest subscribers to my Patreon and PayPal accounts. They've donated and I do appreciate it. They are Michael Beattie, Terence Marfleet, Donna Martin and Elsie Winters. I thank you guys. I do appreciate your support, and thanks for keep coming back. Here we are, straight out of the oven, and they do look delightful. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop those onto a cooling rack and leave them to cool, and then we'll have a look inside one. Here we are now. There's one of my nice soft rolls. Call them Barm Cakes, Baps, Scufflers, whatever you want to call them, wherever you are living in the UK, they call different things. I'm going to have one of these with some of my own home-cured crispy bacon. I love crispy bacon. I like curing my own. This is a bit of streaky I've made, and I've been here since 7 o'clock this morning making these, so it's now tea break time, and I'm going to have that with a nice cup of tea. If you've enjoyed the video, go down below, give it a thumbs up, and leave any comments, suggestions or questions. I do read them all and try to answer as many as I possibly can. So it's Mr. Paul saying bye for now, and I'll see you next time. Bye!